This is your radio, K-Man.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio K-Man's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio K-Man's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon, Cayman, and happy Friday to all of our listeners. I'm sure we are delighted for a hopefully sunny weekend ahead of us. On Talk Today this afternoon, I am Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And today we have a full house. We're waiting on our first guests, but we're supposed to be having from the Lions Club of Grand Cayman, Yvette McField, and from HSA, Tamara Worms-Riley to discuss World Diabetes Day. From 1 o'clock till 2, we'll have Simon Boxall of Hazard Management. We're going to be talking about Tropical Depression 31, also known as Iota, if it reaches storm strength, which it is predicted to do so later on today. And then from 2 to 2:30 p.m. from the Crisis Center, we have Anya Milanowska and Marisha Spencer. I really hope I didn't butcher the name, so I apologize if I did. They'll be here to speak about the Get Up, Stand Up Reggae Style Gala and Jingle Bell Walk Run. That's what we have on agenda for today, and until we have our guests, we will be having open line. So if there's something you want to talk about, give us a call. The numbers to call are 1-800-534-8255, and that's toll-free for Flow customers, 949-8037 or 949-6990. Alternatively, if you would like to WhatsApp us, you can do so at 925-3261.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for your regular host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We are going to be having open mic until our guests arrive, so give me a call if you want to talk about a few things. One of the things on my mind definitely is still Tropical Storm Ida and how that affected Cayman. I'd like to hear from our listeners, how did you do during Ida? Were you adequately prepared? Were you surprised with the damage that did cause Cayman? What do you think about the response that both the public and the private sector had to Tropical Storm Ida? I want to give a reminder to our listeners that we also have hurricane relief efforts for Honduras. So Tropical Storm Ida, when it hit Honduras, wasn't a hurricane, I believe. I believe it left Nicaragua at a Cat 4 and it approached Honduras at a tropical storm strength. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what happened. But it nevertheless devastated Honduras, and there's Honduras relief efforts that are ongoing right now. So if you have items that you can donate that you don't need anymore, anything from baby clothes, children's clothes, teenage, adult clothes, bedding, towels, sanitary items, non-perishable food, some medicine, anything you can think of, tarps, blankets. So many people were left homeless. Everything just wiped away from them. And as well, if you have family or friends that you're going to be sending packages for them to receive so they can do better right now after Tropical Storm Ida hit them, make sure you label those packages with the name of the person that's supposed to be receiving them and also the name of you who the sender who's sending these packages. That way, hopefully, it won't get lost. Nothing will get tied up. Right now, we have Tropical Depression 31. has mentioned, and that is looking to be a storm by later this afternoon, and that would be known as Iota. And one of the big facts about Iota, and I don't think anybody is enjoying this right now, is that 2020 is coming on as the most active Atlantic hurricane season on record, breaking the old record set back in 2005, which had 28 named storms. We are now at 29 named storms. So that's a lot. That's a little bit too much for us to handle. 2020 has been an incredibly difficult year. We've had a lot to handle with COVID. Luckily, I believe Cayman we're in a bit of a bubble. We don't have COVID that's amongst any citizens right now. It's only people who are flying in that are going through quarantine, and I think they go through 2 tests before they're released. And we're doing our measures to make sure that people are safe here. And I really applaud the government for these measures that they've put in place, because it's working for us so far. However, the big question is, how do we really get the economy back on track? How do we really open up? What's going to happen? Are we going to have to go back to social distancing and wearing masks and whatnot? So we got to be a little careful with that, but we'll see what happens. Going back to the points that I was making about the hurricane relief efforts for Honduras, if you have items to drop off, you can go to A.L. Thompson's this afternoon. There will be a group of people there that are accepting the packages, accepting your donations. Please try to pack it up. Don't come with just loose items. Put it in a box. Try to make it a little easier for the volunteers who are working to bring everything to the people in Honduras that need it. They'll be there today from 3 p.m. till about 5 or 6. And then tomorrow they're there from 9 a.m. at A.L. Thompson's till 3. And on Sunday, you can drop off your donations to Foster's Airport Park. They will be there, I believe, from 10 a.m. for a few hours. I don't know how long. I can't quite remember the times that they gave. There was a bunch of numbers as well for people living in West Bay, Georgetown, and Newlands. There was also people collecting in those districts so that it could make it a little easier if you can't get to A.L. Thompson's today or tomorrow and you cannot get to Foster's Airport Park on Sunday. You're able to call these people. I just don't have that info, so if anybody does have it, please do give me a call and we will definitely share it, because we want to help our neighbors in the Caribbean and make sure that they can get back to life again, and that they have the necessities that they need to get them there. We are awaiting, hopefully, representatives from HSA and Lions Club of Grand Cayman to talk about World Diabetes Day. World Diabetes Day is actually tomorrow, November 14th, and this month, the month of November, is Diabetes Awareness Month. The theme for this year is Nurses Make the Difference. So it's all about how nurses can contribute to helping people who have diabetes have a bit of an easier life, that they can cope with their it's not a disability, but that disease basically in a better way. Diabetes affects, I think it's 463 million people around the world, approximately, and that number is coming from the International Diabetes Federation, of which Cayman is a part of. So 463 million people in the world have diabetes, and that number is expected to rise. You can check out more about what we're doing for diabetes here in the Cayman Islands by checking out the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association Facebook page. Just look at CI Diabetes and you'll find some information there. I believe our guests are going to come in, so right now we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back from the commercial break, we'll welcome our guests.
JN Money Card. But when my land up a JN, me get the money card with them. Just show them your ID and give them your TRN. Go and use at the ATM or swipe instead then. And when you need more cash, and make your family send it in a flash. From abroad to card, get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. JN Money Card only available and used in Jamaica. Call 345-945-2014 for details.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Come out to the South Coast Bar and Grill and Breakers this Friday, November 13th, as we celebrate Lambert Seymour Lobby, celebrating his 52nd year in the Cayman music industry. There will be live entertainment by Rexy and the Impulse Band, along with guest artists celebrating Lami's 52nd year in the music industry. Music starts at 9 p.m. and goes until 2 a.m. Admission is by donation at the door. Dance the night away to soca, calypso, merengue, and country music with live entertainment by Rexy and the Impulse Band at South Coast Bar and Grill this Friday night.
Kirk Freeport has opened a clearance pop-up store to liquidate overstocked inventory. The events of 2020 have led to a large overstock. So, Kirk Freeport is offering residents pricing like never before, with all merchandise marked down 50 to 75% off. Located at Kirk Freeport on Cardinal Avenue, open Fridays from 12 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The majority is jewelry and watches. Make sure to visit often, as new stock will be added every week. Located at Kirk Freeport on Cardinal Avenue. Visit kirkfreeport.com for more details.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for your regular host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And as mentioned before our break, we are joined by guests, Miss Yvette McField of the Lions Club of Grand Cayman and HSA community dietitian, Miss Tamara Worms-Riley. And we're here to talk about World Diabetes Day and what is planned for tomorrow, which is World Diabetes Day.
Yes.
All right, welcome, ladies. How are you doing this afternoon?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, a little bit perplexed. It's kind of a long day.
Yes, tiring week.
Yes.
I completely understand. I'm very much looking forward to the weekend, and I hope it's dry and sunny.
Yes.
This is my wish. So, Miss Yvette, if you could let us know what... I understand that you were planning activities for tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit... What do you call it? Because I ran over here.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay, that's all right.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman, in celebration of World Diabetes Day, is actually having a health fair. Okay. And it's in conjunction with HSA and CEDA and a whole lot of other organization groups and companies that are in support of education and information towards diabetes.
Okay.
The event is going to be held at the Lions Community Center tomorrow the 14th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. We have various different companies, but the main goal is education and testing. And we have Miss Tamara Worms-Riley here from HSA, who's going to be giving us some information on dietary feedback. We have Miss Dr. Diana Chestnut, Dr. Diane Hislop Chestnut from Palm Medical. She's going to be there to give us some wealth of information on diabetes.
Yes, we will also have someone giving us some information on foot care, which we have been longing and waiting for, because oftentimes the foot is neglected, especially when it comes to diabetes. And so we will have Nurse Jamelia Bodo, who will be talking about taking care of your feet. So we would love for everyone to come out to get that information. Because I was saying to Miss Yvette, I know that people, they've heard about nutrition. So we want some more in-depth knowledge, because foot care is really, really important. And we are still having amputations. We're still having people have foot wounds that they really don't take care of. And because it's not really my area of expertise, I have been begging and longing to have somebody come on board to give us some information on foot care. So please, everyone, come out so you can get that information. It's very, very important.
Okay, so now when I think of foot care, I'm thinking probably for aesthetic reasons. So I'm not thinking anything associated with diabetes.
Right.
But what is that association, if you could?
The fact is that oftentimes when you are diabetic, the nerve endings are damaged. And so because the nerve endings are damaged, you end up losing some sensation in your feet. And so if you hit your feet, or if your foot becomes wounded, most times it is not felt immediately until after, when it becomes really bad, maybe infected or sore. Sometimes that's when it is noticeable. And then most times it's either too late, or you need extra care at that time. And so that's the reason it is important to pay attention to the feet, even if it is that you don't feel anything happening there. It doesn't mean something is not happening. And so that's the reason we want somebody to come and explain more in depth and give some insight and knowledge on how to deal with your feet when you are diabetic.
Okay. Now, for people who might not know they have diabetes and they're having these issues with their feet, do you find you have a lot of people coming in like that and saying, hey, there's numbness, I don't feel anything in my feet, but they don't know that they might have a condition?
That's a thing too, because funnily, and that's why Ms. Yvette would realize that I've been emphasizing on this. Funnily, I've had patients who don't believe they're diabetic, have not done any test for diabetes, who have mentioned, oh, but I feel this tingling in my feet. But because it's not my area of expertise, I usually say to them, I think it would be best, instead of just making an appointment to see the dietitian immediately because you think that maybe it's because you need to lose weight, why you're feeling that way, you should probably set an appointment first to see the doctor, and then they could make a diagnosis so you could come back so we can assist you with your dietary needs.
Right.
So it's full circle, and it's a team effort. It's a multidisciplinary care. And so that's the reason it is very, very important to get them that first line of care, primary care, so that the primary care physician can in turn say, hey, this is what is happening to you. That's why you're feeling this way. It doesn't necessarily mean you're diabetic, but it's important to know if that's the reason.
Well, you want to rule that out in that sense, and you don't want to, numbness in your limbs is a pretty serious thing.
Exactly.
And to not figure out what's ailing you and just not know it's ignorance.
Yes.
And you got to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
So it's better to know and just get rid of that stress, because how that builds up in your mind already.
Yes. Exactly.
You don't want to go through
and
that.
I think
that'll be a whole other ailment to deal with.
And I think that's the reason they don't, that what you just said, stress.
Yeah. I was tested probably a few years ago for diabetes because, one, I have a huge craving for sugar all the time. My boss can tell you I'm constantly knocking down her door asking for chocolate. And that's how I feel I grew up always. There was always sweets around. But nobody had it in my family. But my mother developed adult onset diabetes. And so, she was the culprit with the chocolate and still is. They'll be like, Mom, you have diabetes. You can't be eating this food. So I have to watch her with it. And the great thing is I was not, I guess I was under the level. So it wasn't that, but it's still so important. Watch what you're eating. Watch the nutrition. Watch your sugar intake. Can you give us a little bit of insight with, especially as an adult, and how you have to change your habits to stay in good health and avoid getting diabetes as an adult? What would your tips be?
The first tip is really to just pay attention to what you purchase. I mean, oftentimes that's the first discussion I usually have with the patients, is that oftentimes when we go into the supermarket, we focus on the pictures on the label, just the pictures and nothing more. Once we can identify the pictures and the first few words are in English, then we say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. But there are fine prints there that you may not be paying attention to. Sometimes the serving sizes are a lot lesser than you think it is, and so you end up consuming more sugar than you should. And that's one of the main reasons to pay attention to the labels, the nutrition facts label at the side. Somebody this week said to me, they purchase a particular type of, food, milk or something of the sort, and there is no label. So the label is there, but there's no nutrition facts panel. So I said to the person, just please go back and look very carefully, because that's the thing. They put the product big and bold, but then sometimes the nutrition facts label, you probably really need to look very long and hard to see where it is at. So it is there usually. So the important thing is to pay attention to what you purchase. Look at the nutrition facts label. Just look at what is in the food that you're consuming. And those are the first steps to trying to manage what you consume. In other words, to prevent becoming diabetic.
Excellent. Thank you. It's a great tip. Easy enough to do. You just got to figure out what that nutrition label is saying and what you need in your servings.
Yes, so. and we're here to guide you. So it's not that we can't provide you with more information. We can. But the first initial step is actually to look at it, so then you have questions.
Yes. Yeah.
If you don't see it, then what are the questions you're going to ask?
Exactly.
The first thing is going to be what is on the label, but then did you look at the label? So then if you looked at it, then we probably could have a discussion. You could say, oh, what is this? What is this for? How much should I be having? But if you don't look at the label, then it's almost like there's no question to be asked.
I think that's where education comes in. And that's why people need to come out to the fair, so they can be educated and get all this pertinent information. And it starts with the people that have it and even the people that don't, because you pass on information. Everybody learns from each other.
Yes.
And we have kids that are having issues that are getting lost.
Why do you think that is?
Because kids are eating things from their parents. You're giving your kids stuff that is easy, that is convenient.
Culturally as well, I would say, in Cayman society, wow, I would eat oxtail every day if I could, for example, or maybe conch, not necessarily, and a lot of bread kind, not necessarily a lot of vegetables there.
Yeah.
But I've learned to take a different approach. I cannot eat like that.
It's learning portion control.
Yes.
It's learning the fact that sometimes when you think about diabetes, you're thinking about sugar and sodas, but you don't think about rice. You don't think about the portions.
Exactly.
You don't think about that stuff.
Right.
You think your kids are a little bit around, and they're going to grow out of that until it's too late. So we have to get to the point where we're going to figure out where they are at.
Exactly.
Most people don't really focus on diabetes until it's too late. We have to get to the point where we're educated enough that we know I need to know this now. Is there a family history? Is there something that I'm feeding my child that's going to put them in a situation?
And if there is a family history, you would be more susceptible to diabetes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we also have the diabetes support group who's going to be at the event. They're going to have a booth there, and they're going to be talking about how they got started, what options they have open up to find out what's out there.
Is the diabetes support group different from the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes. And CETA is going to be there also.
Yes.
And we also have the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens who's going to be there, and they're going to be handing out glucometers.
What are
for
those?
testing.
The testing
blood sugar.
strips and machines.
Oh, so what is this? Explain this. I don't know about this at all.
Well,
this is new to me.
I was informed by the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens that they will be distributing glucometers, which is the machine that you use to test your daily glucose level, your daily sugar levels. So even if you're not diabetic, it still helps to be able to test your blood sugar, because at least if it goes higher, then you maybe want to come in to get it fully checked to see if you may be diabetic. So I don't believe that they will only be giving these out to diabetics. It would be good if you are diabetic and you don't have one, then you can get one. But I do believe that if you are of a certain age, you should probably have one of these at home.
I think that sounds brilliant, because you can test yourself with this and daily.
Exactly.
As you were saying. So that's excellent. So you can keep track, and prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
So excellent. And Yvette, you had mentioned earlier that it's about the educational part as well for children, making sure that we can teach them better nutrition and portion control. And I think a lot of it is your relationship with food and how we look at it, and looking at it as fuel for your body, and maybe not, I'm feeling bad, I'm going to eat this meal, it's going to make me feel great, and, gluttonous, which, admittedly I've done in the past.
I think we've all been there, and it is, like you said, an island trend, the Caribbean, where nice plates and good food, and who doesn't want to have good food?
Yes.
But there's always knowledge in that food comes with certain responsibilities, so,
And it has to be controlled. There are recommendations for portion sizes, but then people usually tend to choose the amount they feel would satisfy them, and it's not necessarily that's not necessarily the way you should go about doing it. So sometimes you may want to satisfy your feeling at the time, but in the end, in trying to satisfy that feeling, it ends up impacting you negatively. So it's not just about how you feel. Think about food as not just something that tastes good, but you should think about how it fuels your body. I usually say to patients that when you are going to have something to eat, if you try to think about how it will benefit you and you cannot come up with at least one benefit, then you perhaps should not be eating that.
I'm going to keep that in mind. I'd like to think that it's most of the food I eat now is for a great benefit.
Think of at least one benefit, except just feeling satisfied at the moment.
Because later you might feel guilty, you might feel very heavy and lethargic, and I can't move, and sometimes your stomach just feels hard. And I think these are all signs that, okay, perhaps I need to step back from this certain type of food I'm eating, or maybe I have an allergic reaction. I don't really know about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, you definitely have to look at it as fuel for your body.
Right. And as what Miss Yvette was saying, when we look at our children, as parents too, the example we should set is that if my child asks me for something, I would say to them, how do you think this is healthy? How do you think this will benefit you? If the child is unable to come up with one benefit, I would say to them, when you can tell me how this will benefit you, then perhaps we can discuss how you can have it. Now, if it will not benefit you today, perhaps we could use it as a treat at some point. but we have to look at foods that will benefit you every day. So the ones that won't benefit you every day, perhaps we can use that as a treat at some point.
I think that's a good idea.
It
sounds worthwhile trying out.
I'm going to try this in the candy aisle when I'm standing in front of all the chocolates, saying, how will this benefit you,
how
Kathy?
will this benefit me?
That's my mindset right now.
Right.
When I go there, I'm like, okay, yeah, it looks nice, but
how will you
I
benefit?
don't really need that. And
Exactly.
there we go.
Right.
It's a learning thing.
It is. Life. You don't learn this off the bat. It's lifelong.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and after the commercial, we'll be back with Yvette McField and dietitian from HSA, Tamara Worms-Riley, as we discuss World Diabetes Day and the events that are taking place tomorrow, Saturday, November 14th, at the Lion Center.
Digital is not a buzzword. It is a culture. At Digicel, we've made it our mission to enrich your digital lives. That's why we're bringing together more of all the experiences you love. The latest shows, the best of local and international music and radio, live sports, cloud storage, breaking news, HD video chats, and more. Welcome to Digital at Digicel, the Caribbean's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane. Debris includes roofing materials, tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles and must not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
Listening to the general public.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Because
There are more questions than answers.
waiting to take your calls right now.
What the public is saying.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we are discussing World Diabetes Day with Yvette McField of Lions Club of Grand Cayman and community dietitian Tamara Worms-Riley from the HSA. Ladies, the theme for this month is, well, for this year's World Diabetes Day is Nurses Make the Difference. Can you shed a little bit of light on why we're focusing on nurses and how they do make the difference?
Well, we have nurses are out there. They're in the public, taking care of, going beyond the scope of everything. And I guess this year with this pandemic,
yes,
we're showcasing all the hard work and the dedication that they put in. So right now we're focusing on 18 nurses who help out in the diabetes care unit. So we're going to be celebrating them at the event.
Okay. How do you think COVID made their job even more difficult when it came to helping to assist the patients, diabetic patients?
Well, I do believe that with the constant, remember when the in the heights of the pandemic in Cayman, you had nurses who were doing all the COVID testing, plus they had to be dealing with the patients at the same time. So it's almost as if you wouldn't know whether or not the next patients you were gonna be taking care of their foot or addressing a wound, if that next person would have COVID-19. So I think with all of that, they were always at the forefront at all times. And so because of that, I think in primary care, they need to be highlighted because they had to be doing this while still thinking that there is a pandemic, and I'm not sure if my next patient would be a COVID patient, plus I still have to be dealing with everything else.
Right, because people with pre-existing medical conditions were more susceptible to COVID, right? Yes. And I have a couple friends who are nurses at HSA, and one of them would share her routine coming home every night. And it was in the garage. It was one little center to completely strip off all the nursing uniform that she had on, and then to go into like a next little boxed area where she would absolutely clean her. So she's not even entering her house, cleaning herself. And the next little area where there was clothes to put on, and then she'd go inside her house. Yes. And you're already working incredibly long hours, long shifts in the medical fields, nurse or doctor. So she also has, I think, 4 children. So to deal with that, to make sure that her children are safe, and she's going through all these measures, and we didn't know if those measures were effective or if it was too much, if we didn't need to do it.
Right.
We just didn't know. We're doing what we can to avoid. Protect the family, protect ourselves, protect the patients. So I can imagine the stress that it must have caused, and our nurses do need to be honored and recognized for the efforts that they have put in. So it falls at a good time. Yes. So they'll be honored tomorrow at the event, right?
At the event, yes.
Okay. Any other special plans we have? Are we going to be having any certain speakers or other presentations?
We have some dancers that are going to be there, so just come out and enjoy. For our booth, we're going to have Young Living, which is an essential oils company that's going to be there. We're going to have Himalaya, Blue Water. Yes.
Blue Water Medical, I think.
Yes. So they're going to be there.
Excellent.
So we have some of everything that would be beneficial with regards to diabetes and education.
And tomorrow, are we having, you were speaking about nutrition as well, and bringing that educational part out.
So I will be doing a little, introduction to, taking care of yourself as it relates to nutrition with diabetes. And also we will be having our table set up, and we'll be doing nutrition education for persons who come along or those who have been tested as well. And as Ms. Yvette mentioned about the nurses, we have our nurses submitted, some nurses submitted just how they feel, something good they remember about taking care of a patient or just as being a nurse. So those will be, presented to the individuals as well, and they will be given their tokens. And for those who are not able to come, we will present the tokens to someone who is there for them so that they will be able to receive it.
Oh, excellent. You're planning a great event for tomorrow to bring awareness. November is the Diabetes Awareness Month, and you guys are doing a great job with. We're going to have this event at the Lions Club tomorrow. What was the time again?
It's at the Lions Center.
Center.
It's going to be at 10 a.m. start and 2 p.m. finish.
So that's tomorrow, to check out the booths, to hopefully get one of those little that device, the meter that's going to check your glucometer that'll check your sugar levels. I would get there right away for that. That sounds great.
We will also be raffling a $100 gift certificate for ValueMed Pharmacy. So please come out. If your name is not in the box, you don't stand a chance.
Oh, that's true. That's my pharmacy. So big up Mr. Parker right there. That's my spot. But for tomorrow, we have the event, which is great. But do you think there is also enough awareness that happens throughout the year, or what else we could do to bring attention to, because it's a really serious thing?
Well, going forward, we're hoping to bring more education, and that starts sometimes it starts with the younger ones, because kids, they get like a little mosquito in the buzz of the air of the parents, and we can go from there. So we're going to hopefully present some of the schools with some information on diabetes and some testing.
Okay, great.
So
I do believe that we try to provide as much information as possible because we do give information to the school as much as possible. And I think, as Ms. Yvette said, going forward, more information could be provided in the schools so the students are able to benefit from this information and perhaps in the long term, the entire family. Because oftentimes I know the parents will listen to the children if it is that they say, oh, I don't want to eat this, I will have that. So if we can provide them with, things that they can use as healthy alternatives, perhaps they could take this home to the parents and this could ease their minds as it relates to their children's choices, because most times it's, oh, I don't like that, and then they would ask, oh, so what would you prefer? And oftentimes it's not the healthiest things.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I don't have a child, so I don't know how to parent.
But I'm sure your aunt or cousin or something
Sister.
like that. So sister, yes. So,
Yes.
They'll get you with it.
In the sense of, I think I'd be like, well, no, you're not having that. You're going to have this. That would be my style.
I'm like that too.
I'm like
Yes.
that.
Well, your approach with how is this going to benefit you?
Yes.
When you're looking at a food that you're going to consume, I think that's a great
I'm definitely like that.
approach to
Yeah.
take.
I do the talk.
Yes.
I always do that talk before I get inside the supermarket.
Oh, really?
I do that talk at the car. Okay, so when we get into the supermarket, we're not purchasing anything at the cashier. We're going to get these from these aisles, and then we're going to put them in the trolley. We're going to the cashier, and then we're leaving the supermarket. So please be focused.
And how do they fare with that?
It works. Sometimes I'm called the Grinch, but it's okay.
That's all right.
It's good to be the Grinch.
But I think that those talks, they'll eventually think right now they're not listening.
Yes.
But they do receive it,
I
and
know.
it goes on from there, and eventually they'll pass that on, and they'll pass it on to their kids and on, so the generations will increase in a better education.
And I know they
Yeah.
listen. I know
So-
they listen because I remember in particular a conversation that I had with my little girl about drinking water and constipation. And she came home to me, she was saying, I was telling my friend at school the reason she needs to drink water. And in my mind, I was like, all along that I've been emphasizing on this, and we talk about the whole work, dialysis, the whole thing. And I remember when she came to me with this particular conversation, I was driving and she was saying, oh, I was telling my friend the reason she needs to drink water. And in my mind, I was like, yes, that means all along that I've been ranting on why you need, because she drinks a lot of water now, so that's not even an issue.
It's impressive.
I have an issue with her trying to, finish all the water. So that's the problem now. But I'm saying, like, initially, I was like, this is the reason you have to drink water. It's not about, me forcing you. It's about how it benefits you, how it benefits your kidneys and what it does, and how your urine color changes with the things you drink. And I was so surprised when this was now being told to me in return. And I was sitting there and I was listening wholeheartedly, because I was saying, I sound as if I was ranting, but even though I was ranting, someone was listening.
Yes. It got through to her. Well, repetition is the mother of skill. That's a very favorite phrase of mine.
Yes, exactly.
So the more you say or do something, the more you're going to catch on. It'll be stuck in your head, and you're going to do it.
Exactly.
And I think an important thing as well is, I'm sure your actual behavior and your actions are reflecting what you're saying. Exactly. So it's one thing to be a parent and have a gigantic plate of food in front of you with, let's say, all carbs and fats and perhaps no vegetables and just sugary things and a cake for dessert. But you're telling your child, no, you can't eat that, or you need to restrict this, and they're going to look at you like, but you're not. So you're not even, the parent's not necessarily setting that example. And it's hard. Food is a hard thing to
resist.
Yeah. But aside from what you're consuming, is there any other factors that can lead to diabetes?
Well, inactivity, because the thing is that when you are inactive, eventually all the calories you consume, because it still goes back to that, will be stored, and these stored energy will turn to fat, in other words. And the more fat cells you have is the more impact it will have on your cells, inevitably, because what will happen is that these cells will now eventually may become resistant to taking up the sugars. And so that's how you can become diabetic. So you need to be physically active. And it is important to understand that they all tie in to each other. Physical activity, your diet, and just overall taking care of your holistic health.
Excellent.
With that being said, I should mention we are going to have someone doing some exercise demonstrations there. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So it's many reasons to come out tomorrow. If Yvette, if you could, we're going to wrap up.
Okay.
And if you could let us know the details again for tomorrow. It is World Diabetes Day. The theme is Nurses Make the Difference, and we're having a big event at Lions Center tomorrow from 10 a.m. Let the people know why they got to be there, what they are looking forward to.
Well, we want everyone to come out to the Lions Health Fair tomorrow, the 14th of November. It's going to be at the Lions Community Center from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we want you to come out, get educated on diabetes, get educated on eating better, staying physically fit. We have some wonderful booths out there. And we just want you to get your mind geared to enjoying the event.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. And again, World Diabetes Day, celebrated tomorrow at Lions Center. It's the Lions Fair. And it's Diabetes Awareness Month. And if you want to find out more about diabetes and what the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association is doing, you can check out their Facebook page at CI Diabetes. All right, ladies, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The UK's Privy Council has formalised changes so the Legislative Assembly will officially become known as Parliament when it meets next month. In international news, U.S. election officials have said the 2020 White House vote was the most secure in American history, rejecting President Donald Trump's fraud claims. There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised, a committee announced. Trump has yet to concede to the president-elect, Democrat Joe Biden. China has finally congratulated Joe Biden on his projected win in the U.S. presidential election, breaking a period of silence. The China-U.S. relationship is crucial to both sides and the wider world. Tensions have soared in recent times over trade, espionage, and the pandemic. NASA has been developing a mega rocket to send humans to the moon and eventually Mars. The last critical tests of the giant launcher's core section are expected to take place within the next few weeks. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We're about to enter the height of the hurricane season, and given that we've already seen a significant amount of activity in the Atlantic this year, we're really asking the public to get ready for the next few months. Some tips of getting ready: be informed and know your risks associated with the high winds as well as storm surge. Find out how high your home is above the sea level and the flooding history. If you have any new buildings or roads that have been constructed near you, this could impact levels of flooding that you may not have previously experienced. Determine where you You, your family, and your pets will shelter in a storm. Know where the public shelters are, and if you have medical needs, be sure to go to a shelter that is a designated emergency medical centre. Make sure your home, car, and property insurance, as well as your passports and other important documents, are up to date and that you have copies and photographs in a secure and dry location. If you have a boat, please decide now where and how you will secure it. Check your hurricane shutters, and if you don't have them, consider purchasing plywood. Stock up on hurricane supplies, non-perishable items including prescribed medication and personal sanitation items. And for more information, please visit our website at www.caymanprepared.ky. Be informed, make a plan, be prepared, and stay safe, Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we are here this afternoon with representatives from Hazard Management. We have Acting Director Simon Boxall and Lennox Vernon, Logistics Manager. Also joining us is John Tibbetts, Director General for
National Weather Service.
There we go. They gave me so many other words. They were saying commandant this, and I was like, oh, guys, hold on.
I think that's my fault. That's just how HMCI sees me.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I pay attention to your emails more than anything, so if that makes you feel any better. All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And I know we've had a little chuckles, but it's quite a serious topic. Quite a serious one. Now, 2020 has already hit us pretty bad, and Hazard Management has been probably your busiest year ever, I would say, since inception. Right. We were already dealing with COVID, and then Delta was our big scare. After Delta came, that was Eta, yeah.
Before
and
that,
then,
we had Gamma, and before that,
yeah.
Right.
But I feel like Delta was the one that we were, because it just
scary.
all of a sudden.
It went up, powered up, right, John? I shouldn't be talking for you, but like up to category 4, you had that one.
Well,
As it passed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was
glad
the closest.
To be here. Thank you for having us.
The closest chance we had of having category 4 winds this past year.
It sort of did a little jog south, I think, as it went underneath Jamaica, and luckily that's sort of...
Yeah, we were lucky. All in all, we were lucky. But we have something else on the horizon. So it is our most active storm season ever. The last one being 2005 with 28 recorded storms, and now we have 29. We have 31, and this is Tropical Depression 31, and it's supposed to form into a storm later today.
Yes.
And otherwise known as Iota.
Yeah.
What do we got to know, guys?
That's the current system that's out. And if you look at it, it looks an awful lot like Eta, because the formation point is just about the same spot, and the initial forecast track of Eta was along the north coast of Honduras, and it's the same track that this storm has.
And Honduras already got a licking last weekend, so
yeah,
not looking good.
Yeah, and obviously we learnt from Eta that when you're looking out 4 and 5 days in the future, that it can be quite iffy. I think Eta was one of the most confused storms that you could ever see. There is the part where it's in western Honduras and into the Guatemala and Belize area, and hurricane centers up there urgently and very desperately seeking to try and find a center. And they do find a center, and my forecaster goes, but they're tracking the wrong center. And that's how crazy it was.
Wow. Okay.
And then it had, when it came off of Belize and came back into the ocean, it had like about 3 relocations of centers as it came towards us.
Okay.
So it was a crazy, crazy system.
Which was within a 24-hour time period of...
Correct.
Where is this headed exactly?
Correct. And then even after it left us, then it went and did a loop in the southeast Gulf of Mexico. So it has not been a nice storm. I can just imagine those guys working at the Hurricane Center. They must have pulled out every here they got out ahead. It's just a bunch of bald-headed people now, I guess.
I think last night on social media, I heard I saw somebody write, how is Ada still alive?
Yeah.
And I guess once it left us, the bands really hit Jamaica as well.
Yes.
And it just was unbelievable to me, the damage that a tropical storm did for Cayman and for Jamaica, for Honduras. It was a Cat 4, I guess, when it left Nicaragua.
Yeah.
So I think we're all a little shocked by the activity of Ada and the lifespan that she's taken on.
I think we were quite lucky it was moving when it passed us at 17 miles an hour, because it was an enormous rain event. And so, I mean, we did see quite a lot of impacts even here in Cayman, even though it was just really passing with kind of tropical storm force winds, I'd say, for just a few hours, right, John?
Yeah.
But I mean, the rain was quite intense for us, and I think we always have to bear in mind that these things can actually stall out and sit on top of you, and there's been numerous examples of that happening in previous storms. So I think it is a kind of it was a bit of a wake up call. I think a lot of people are a bit dismissive, possibly, of tropical storm force winds.
I was.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and particularly because we had so much rain the previous kind of 10 days prior to it, much as we did actually prior to Mitch. I don't know if you recall that. There was like 2 weeks solid of rain, and the ground was very saturated, so I think that contributed a lot to some of the trees and things that we saw come down. And unfortunately for some people, on top of their cars, and we really strongly want people to kind of keep that in their mind, because one of the things we do recommend almost every year is if you can trim the trees back a little bit, it reduces the surface area of them, and they're much less likely to fall. So particularly the ones that are close to your house, or that could potentially fall on cars in the driveway and things, it's good to try to get them, reduce them, don't chop them down or anything, but just if you can kind of cut back some of that surface area, they're much more likely to stay up.
Saturday morning, I was cooking some breakfast, and I heard a crack outside of my kitchen window, and it was my neighbor's tree, not super strong, and it fell right over. But if it took a different direction, it would have gone right into my window, and and that was the first tree that I really paid attention to. That was like, okay, what's really going on now? And then I started seeing everything that people are sharing on social media. But I think one of the things that hit me the most, I think we all saw the huge tree at Foster's that fell on a car and damaged a car there. Super unfortunate. And then the footage that Hazard Management put out on their Instagram account on Cayman Prepared of the helicopter, the aerial view, I think it was the Georgetown area.
Yes.
That was when we reshared that on our Instagram page as well, and just the amount of people that are sharing and showing that's unbelievable to how much flooding there was from just that tropical storm, Ida.
So that's a normal part of the procedure for us following storms. We do an initial or preliminary damage assessment, which involves, in the past we used the fixed wing aircraft. Now we use the police helicopter to do that initial assessment. Possibly, if it was a multi-island incident, we might actually ask the UK to help, because typically the British ship will follow in behind these events. And so that assessment went up, and you're right, it was interesting for people, I think, to see the extent of the flooding, the pictures coming in of fish swimming in the roads and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, people basking in a, what do you call it when you go to the beach and you have that thing in the water, the floaties that you're hanging out on. I saw that at, I think, Royal Palms parking lot, somebody just hanging out, and I get the fun that people want to have after, but I don't think they realize the seriousness of it as well. It's probably not the smartest idea to be wading or to be floating around in water or fishing in the water. There could be down power lines. There's possibility of ringworm. There's so many reasons why you really shouldn't just be hanging out in the water out there. But
we used to play in it as children. You probably remember that, John, a lot. But I kind of inclined to agree with you. I mean, a lot of our We have quite the shallow water table. It doesn't take long quite often before you dig down and you actually hit the water table, because we're on average just 7 feet above sea level. 80% of all our sewage is pumped into the ground in septic tank systems. So there's potentially, yes, fecal coliforms and chemicals and like used motor oil and various things that we probably never even worried about. So
Right.
we do kind of recommend, if the kids are out playing, maybe have like a very light, not very much, but a very light solution of like bleach water to just dip your feet in as you come through the house, that kind of thing.
That's a good idea. Because, we're not going to stop it. They're definitely going to go out there and try to have their little fun after the storm once they realize, okay, it's passing and we don't have to wait
Jump
inside.
in the puddles, you can't take it away from people. They're always going to do it.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, that this storm, I know that we concentrate a lot on the rainfall, but I think the winds that we got and the little, the vortices, whether you want to call them tornadoes or whirlwinds or whatever it was, there are a number of them, and kind of a little surprise note for you, and that is the National Weather Service is working on a research project right now using the weather radar, and I know that we've tracked what we call a gustnado, if you want to call it that, that tracked through, and I hit the Fosters in Savannah there. I think it's on the 7th or something like that. And from out of it, we can actually get some estimates of winds. And the estimates of winds surprised me a bit because they're a bit on the high side. They're in excess of 50 knots. So, but we'll see that next week when we finally release that on what our research project came up with and what have you. But there was a lot of damage as I went out and I drove out after the storm and what have you. There was a lot of wind damage, and it's a mixture. There's a lot of straight line wind damage, and there's a lot of circulatory vortices that are around that cause damage. There were a lot of people that said, hey, my house got hit by a tornado. I don't know if I want to go tornado, but there were vortices around.
I think tornado is the most common expression that people will use for that formation. And that's okay for them.
Some people were saying in Savannah they think they might have experienced that, where the poles and things snapped and stuff. Is it possible that was one too? I should let you ask the questions.
Well, we're dealing with an incident on the 7th, and as I said, we're gonna try and put together that research project by about Tuesday of next week or so, and see what we have to show you, and the tools of the Weather Service and what have you, and start to utilize the weather radar, because I did inform NEOC and when we did that briefing that we were detecting vortices in it.
Okay.
Right? But one of my big concerns initially is that when the storm started to approach us, it was like a band of heavy showers. And when you have a band of heavy showers, you get what we call a gust front developing. And that is, all these thunderstorms are having heavy showers, and the winds are pushing out ahead of it. And you could get a very strong push of wind out ahead of the storms that could do very significant damage. And I think we see that in some places.
Yes. Well, it could be one of the reasons for sure. We have a caller online right now. We're gonna take that caller. Silver Fox. All right. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Ms. Mellon. Good afternoon to your guest here.
Good afternoon, Ms. Biddy.
They said some very important things there. And about the wind, I think that is what most people underestimated. The strength of the wind going by. Reports we're hearing of 20 and 30 mile an hour winds that we could expect, and slow force on 35 mile an hour possibly. But I'd ask a question first before I say what I have to say. how close did the center of the eye come by Grand Cayman? Because it would be on the western side, I presume. How close was it at its closest point? Do you have that information?
I don't have the exact information, but I would suspect it was something in the order of about 40 miles. And the interesting part about it is that how the track was going, it kind of drifted a bit further to the east. So one of the things for us, basically, it came closer to the BRAC than perhaps the hurricane center was expecting, and it probably remained there a little bit longer than they thought it was going to be there.
Yeah, well, I do follow that kind of reasoning, but with Grand Cayman also, I think it was a lot closer than 40 miles. That's my opinion, and I will hold with that. What I was...
Could I just jump in a bit and just echo what you're saying? Because I do recall early in the morning that day, on the 7th, they relocated the center of circulation further south as well as further east as well. So, I mean, it's possible, and they were struggling, obviously, to find the center, as Mr. Tibbetts mentioned earlier.
You're good. What was the last longitude you had of it, the closest longitude? Because you're at 81.3, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Tibbetts looking now.
I think it was at 81.8, or was it closer than that? That would give it about slightly less than 40 miles, I believe. But the thing is, it was the strongest wind band. I mean, we're on the eastern side and much more on the east and on the west side of the eye. And it was a broad band, so it's quite possible that we had winds of 60, 65 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm right out here in the bay and I was looking up, and the trees were almost lying down. We had broken limbs from 10 o'clock. And the strongest winds I observed were from 10 to 10:45 or so. And then it started to move down because, as you say, it was moving so quickly. It had already moved around, let's say, Northwest Point. But I do think it was closer than 40 miles, and I think we had winds of over 60 miles an hour.
I think
on the skirts of it.
I think you might be correct on the wind speed, because I remember seeing updates. I was constantly on the National Hurricane Center updates as well, so I was looking there, and it had already passed Cayman at this point. It goes a little bit later on Saturday, maybe mid-afternoon, and it had reached 65 miles per hour. And I said, okay, we're just 10 miles per hour away from a Hurricane 1, Cat 1, but it didn't. But it wasn't coming right back to us at that point. So I felt we were safe. But I remember it. I think maybe 39 miles away. I think that was one of the last readings I also saw. But Mr. Tibbetts is looking for us.
And I'd like to just jump in too, because you said something too, Mr. Eden. You know, we were on the right side of it, the right front quadrant. And the interesting thing about that is when you're when the hurricane is moving in the same direction as the winds, you've actually got to add those two numbers together. So it was moving forward at 17 miles an hour, and say the wind was blowing at 40, you'd be looking at 57 mile an hour winds. And that's why that right front quadrant tends to cause the most damage, and where you tend to see the most storm surge. Yeah.
Thinking, but then it, of course, on the first wind would have been sort of from a southwesterly bearing, with it spinning out, and was it anti-clockwise, isn't it?
Counterclockwise, correct. Southeasterly, yeah, exactly.
And then coming with the eye even after a while from the northeast. But the thing is, it's just that people weren't sort of prepared for the ferocity of the wind. The water we can accept. You know, many places have been flooded just as much with an ordinary rain, an ordinary heavy shower of rain, as we had some recently. But the wind was the unexpected thing, and the wind damage was severe. And in some places, as I said, if maybe in the future, I know you guys don't excellent job. It's a difficult thing. People think that by listening to it and they're saying it made landfall, something 200 miles in diameter or so. You can't just say it made landfall. The outer skirts or the bands on the east side, north side, we'll be making landfall with certain hot winds or so forth. Might be better to say in the future. That way people will know kind of what to expect and not be caught by surprise by saying 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour we should expect. I just thought that might be helpful in the future to talk about the distance the band is from the outer bands are from the center of the eye, and that the ferocity of the winds or the velocity of it at that distance. They might be able to give a sort of approximation or close approximation, and that would sort of let the people know just what to expect. I think that's what happened to a lot of us, including myself. And from 1999, I've been in 3 Category 1 hurricanes flying up to Florida. And I remember leaving one in Tallahassee. I think it was in October 2000, man, to visit my dear brother who has passed away now. But we left in a Category 1 hurricane. And he has had a yard of 3.5 acres of land and pine, so I could see what the wind was doing there and comparing it to what I saw here. That's why I say I think those winds were a lot stronger than 30 or 40 miles an hour. That's just my simple observations, and I saw two.
It's a good one. It's a good observation that you had, and like I said, I did agree with you. And Mr. Tibbetts does have some facts to share with us as well. But we got to go to a commercial break right now, and when we return, we'll be back with some more information on what Tropical Storm Ida did to Cayman and what we have to look out for with Iota.
Introducing the new Digicel Prime bundles, better than anything we've offered before, with more data than ever, more music on the music, more live sports on Sportsmax, more movies on Playgo, more video chats on BIP. With the new Digicel Prime bundles, it's never been easier to get more digital experiences, plus extra data. Get 50 gigabytes with a 7-day bundle. So much data, so much fun. Buy in My Digicel app today, the Caribbean's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing. So come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Have You Heard the Call will be next to Jimwood Bar, Martin Drive, Central Georgetown, 18th and 19th.
Find out about all the community happenings from non-profit, community fundraisers, church events, and more with Radio Cayman's Community Bulletin Board 3 times daily. Don't be the one to miss out on the latest information for events taking place every day on all 3 islands. Radio Cayman's Bulletin Board brought to you by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours.
And Royal Medical and Wellness Center in Baytown Plaza. Your health deserves nothing less than the royal treatment. Email info@royalmedical.ky or call 769-6230. WhatsApp available at 922-2119. Come out to the South Coast Bar and Grill and Breakers this Friday, November 13th, as we celebrate Lambert Seymour Labby, celebrating his 52nd year in the Cayman music industry. There will be live entertainment by Rexy and the Impulse Band, along with guest artists celebrating Lammy's 52nd year in the music industry. Music starts at 9 p.m. and goes until 2 a.m. Admission is by donation at the door. Dance the night away to soca, calypso, merengue, and country music with live entertainment by Rexy and the Impulse Band at South Coast Bar and Grill this Friday night.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today on Radio Cayman. I am Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we are here with Lennox Vernon from Hazard Management and Simon Boxall from Hazard Management and John Tibbetts from Cayman Islands Weather Service. Mr. Tibbetts, you are going to clear up some of the questions that the last caller had in regards to the wind.
Okay. Well, first of all, the question about how close did Ada come to the Cayman Islands, the closest point I can see is about 50 miles north of Grand Cayman.
Okay.
Okay. And at that particular point, the strongest winds in the storm had increased to about 60 miles per hour. So it was not a hurricane. It was a tropical storm. Very strong one, but still a tropical storm. And it was moving towards the northeast at about 17 miles per hour. Okay? And I think by that evening and going into that night, it had gone ashore Cuba. It had turned more, the direction had turned more north. He asked how far it was. It came to the east in terms of longitude, and the longitude was about 79.3. Mm-hmm. That is almost basically in line with the sister islands, as it were.
Okay.
Okay. So the curvature did have it going north. Now, in terms of the band of winds and the strongest winds in the system and what have you, you got a system that's coming in. It had 50-knot winds, 60-knot winds as a max and what have you. And we look at a weather radar and you see a band of heavy showers coming out ahead of it. That band of heavy showers would have been bringing your strongest winds. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what may have been kind of our saving grace in that regard is that the band came through fairly early to a certain extent before you're talking about a 60-mile-an-hour storm.
Yes.
Okay. When the storm becomes a 60-mile-an-hour storm, the storm is actually north of Grand Cayman, and the heaviest showers, the strongest winds have already moved away. Now, Cayman Brac would have gotten perhaps a bigger dose of those 60-mile-per-hour winds than we got here in Grand Cayman. However, I think what we may have gotten is that we may have gotten the fully enhanced band of showers that came through that would have had some decent straight-line winds in it and would have had the vortices in it. Okay, they may not, the vortices themselves may not have been so plentiful in the sister islands, but they may have gotten stronger winds. Just from the theoretical point.
It is gusts as well. People, the way they measure these things is with sustained winds at 10 feet above mean sea level for a period of 1 minute or something. I think that's the way they measure, right, John?
Our wind information is measured at about 30 feet above sea level.
Okay.
And they're usually in the order of about a 10-minute average. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, my observers are trained that if we lose electricity, we lose all our wind systems, they can fairly accurately, I won't say fairly accurate, but they can estimate within reason wind speeds and wind direction.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I can tell you that when you're talking about winds up at 60 and 80 miles per hour, the error margin in terms of saying what that wind speed is quite significant. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. The higher up you go, the higher that error margin is going to go. In fact, I think once you get to like hurricane force wind, they just say, you can guess it. And understand that when the observers are looking at coconut trees, for example, and seeing how they're blowing in the wind, and they can look at that and say, well, that's a 15 knot wind, or that's a 25 knot wind. Okay, but when you get up above hurricane force winds, your error margin could be quite huge. Now, I'm not saying the old seamen and stuff like that. They saw some of these big, huge storms and stuff like that, and they would have go, oh boy, they know what 140 mile per hour wind is. But one of the things that you know about estimating wind and saying, well, I think that was a 50 knot wind. First, you got to be in a 50 knot wind first. You had to have experienced it before. And then really and truly to get a good gauge of it, where every time you see it, you go, that's a 50 knot wind. You had to have had it more than once. You had to have it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So when I hear people in Cayman, and I'm not going after the old seamen, please understand that. When you have people in Cayman and they go, that was definitely a Category 5 hurricane. And my question to them is, if you're going to estimate the winds at Category 5 hurricane, you had to have been in a Category 5 hurricane. Have you been in a Category 5 hurricane? No? Oh.
Well, we call Ivan a Cat 5.
Let's not get into that discussion.
Just making that comment there. We have a caller on the line? We do have one caller on the line, and right after that we got to go to commercial break again. Yeah. A lot of great information, but caller, how are you doing this afternoon? Hello, caller. You're here on Talk Today.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to all of you there. And
good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I want to have some discussions about what happened during the last tropical storm in Cayman Brac. We were all figuring that the storm had 35 mile per hour wind, but the sites that I have visited on Cayman Brac and see the size branches that have been broken, I said Cayman Brac had winds easily up to 50 and 60 miles per hour from the last tropical storm. And Grand Cayman, after seeing and hearing from friends of the numerous trees down there, has been uprooted, and even a good-looking light pole, not being a rotting pole, breaking off. Grand Cayman had up to hurricane force winds, and also where a tornado had ripped through somewhere in Grand Cayman, that could have been way higher, even up to 150 miles per hour, just in one particular spot where you're having twisters associated with these tropical storms. And from this one now on, to advise the public that anytime you hear of a 25 or 35 or even 40 miles per hour storm coming through, you can figure to get a lot heavier wind, the velocity wind from such a system, 50 to 60, and maybe up to 75 mile per hour wind. That's what I'm here today to mention to the public. When you hear of a weak storm coming, don't think it's just blowing that it's going to be stronger from the outer bands, and with meeting up cross winds that will produce this impact and more fuel to the storm, as you would say, to cause higher winds than just the tropical storm winds that we were thinking we were experiencing.
All right, thank you. Thank you, caller, for your comments.
Thanks, Mr. Raymond Scott. I remember Mr.
Thank
Scott
you.
from the BRAC and Little Cayman. John, that's you. I think he's passing that on to you, right?
Certainly. And I think when you heard his comments and where you look at a system and it's coming across, and let's be honest with ourselves, by the time the storm is starting to affect the sister islands, the sustained winds in the storm center is already about 60 miles per hour. And if you've got a rain band, or some people refer to them as spiral bands and stuff like that, you got that coming out. One of the things that can happen out of those is that you have winds that are representative of the center of the storm. So 60 mile per hour winds, certainly within reason. Do I go with all the other numbers? Perhaps not, but his comments with regards to the Cayman Islands, to Grand Cayman, when you look at all the down trees and you see if you saw the pictures from Red Bay, there were 2 light poles basically just snapped off and leaned back. Now the 2 light poles in Savannah, in Red Bay, does not look to me like a vortice or a tornado. They look to me like more of a straight line wind. And the reason for it is that there doesn't seem to be ringing action in the light poles. The light poles are just broken and leaned back, so they looked more like the straight line wind of a very organized rain band coming in. And that was what my thought, wasn't it, when I saw it?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But they do say, the National Hurricane Center, sorry, John, that about 25% of all the hurricanes have tornadic winds in them.
Yes, I don't have a problem with that. And I agree with you. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, when you're talking about tornadoes and hurricanes, tornadoes, you usually look in the northeast quadrant of a storm. Well, this wasn't a hurricane, but it will have similar type of configuration for where the storms and the possible tornadoes are located.
So we should expect the vortices to occur
in the northeast quadrant, certainly.
Okay, so that's something to look for. We have to go to a commercial break, and after that we're going to talk about what hazard management was doing in terms of helping Cayman prepare for Ida. I'm not saying her name wrong. I just want her gone. I don't even want to get the name right. And we gotta address Iota as well. So let's take it to a commercial break, and we'll be back after that.
Do you remember when 2020 was great?
I don't think it was...
2020 vision, not the year.
Right.
Make 2020 great again with Optical Outlook, the new West Bay store now open. With their designer frames and sunglasses, eye health has never looked so good. Call 746-2020 and book your eye exam today at Caymanian Village and now at Jake Scott Plaza in West Bay, offering premier eye care in Cayman for over 30 years. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Did you know that in only the past 40 years, the number of people with diabetes has quadrupled to almost 500 million worldwide? This World Diabetes Day, the Lions Club of Grand Cayman is pleased to present the Diabetes Health Fair, Saturday, November 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lions Center. This year's theme for World Diabetes Day is Nurses Make the Difference, and the fair will include free health and sight screening and educational presentations by Dr. Diane Hislop Chestnut and HSA dietitian Tamara Worms-Riley. The Diabetes Health Fair is free to the public. Saturday, November 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lions Center.
Radio Cayman News.
A small craft warning and a flood warning in effect for Cayman today as it's starting to feel the effects of Tropical Depression Eta.
We've seen some extended periods of rain this morning.
Strong winds and rough seas are expected across the Cayman area over the next few days.
The track has it coming back into the Northwest Caribbean. That will change the dynamics of the wind direction.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic, your life connected.
Over 60 years ago, we started as an insurance company to put people first. Today, with all of the challenges our world is facing, that mission has never been more important. Brit-K is now CG Brit-K. And though our name has changed, our purpose hasn't. We are still the same people-first company we've always been. And we're here for you, stronger than ever. CG Brit-K.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm Evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing, so come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Have You Heard the Call will be next to Jimwood Bar, Martin Drive, Central Georgetown, 18th and 19th, 7:30 p.m. Did you know that in only the past 40 years, the number of people with diabetes has quadrupled to almost 500 million worldwide? This World Diabetes Day, the Lions Club of Grand Cayman is pleased to present the Diabetes Health Fair, Saturday, November 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lions Center. This year's theme for World Diabetes Day is Nurses Make the Difference, and the fair will include free health and sight screening and educational presentations by Dr. Diane Hislop Chestnut and HSA dietitian Tamara Worms-Riley. The Diabetes Health Fair is free to the public. Saturday, November 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lions Center.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you can make it this weekend.
Thanks for inviting me. Wow, this place is amazing. How did you find it?
I found it on Experience Cayman. They have so many staycation ideas.
I'll check it out, but for now, let's hit the pool.
Experience Cayman is a celebration of everything local. To rediscover all the best things to see and do in the Cayman Islands, visit gov.ky/Experience Cayman and follow Experience Cayman on Facebook and Instagram. Brought to you by the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure.
Your Radio Cayman 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit www.caymannational.com for up-to-date information for all your financial needs and follow us on social media.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. We are here this afternoon with Hazard Management and the Cayman Islands Weather Service. We are discussing Tropical Storm Eta, and we are also talking about Iota, who's next on the list. So we have a caller right now, so we're going to take the caller and hear what they have to say. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
Okay.
Okay. What would you like to share?
And special good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon.
Yes, well, the hurricane center in Miami has said that the Cayman Islands is the bullseye in the Caribbean for hurricanes. And because of global warming, the sea level is getting higher.
and we all can see that ourselves. And we hear every year the government warning us to be prepared and to get all our canned goods, our batteries, our candles, and whatever else that is needed during and after a hurricane. Mm-hmm. We realize and know exactly how serious tsunamis are. And when it comes to the government suggesting to people to go into the hurricane shelters, which the majority of them are very low when it comes to the foundation. And when you have old people and little children going into those shelters and being advised and by the government to do so, they're expecting to be safe. And if we were to have a tsunami, and as we all know from what we've heard, not from experience here in the Cayman Islands, but from what we've heard and seen on the news, tsunamis are very dangerous and very powerful. And for the government to suggest to people to go into hurricane shelters that are so, the foundations are so low to the ground. If those old people and those children lose their lives in those hurricane shelters, the government is responsible for their lives, you know.
Well, caller, I don't necessarily, that's your opinion, but I don't necessarily agree with the government being responsible for their lives. The shelters, as we have Lennox Vernon, who can explain to us more about the shelters. He was really in charge of this part with hazard management. But a lot of people are encouraged to go to the shelters if they are in areas that are very flooded. They don't have, homes that are structurally sound, and they're going to feel much safer. So it's the advice of the government. Nobody's forced to do this. So I appreciate your comment, and I understand it. But with that, we're going to go to Lennox, and he's going to explain to us more about the shelter capacity, why the shelters are there, and what hazard management did in this case to encourage people to go to the shelters. Thank you for your call, caller.
Well, good afternoon, caller. Thank you very much for your comment and your concern. I agree with the host, Ms. Miller. The government advise or would suggest that you go to a shelter, but I think we're looking at two different types of disasters here. A tsunami generally doesn't come along with a hurricane or cyclone type event. Typically, tsunami is generated as a result of displacement of water, which generally occurs as a result of a undersea landslide or an earthquake. So again, using that, I think for this particular case, when we advise members of the public that they can seek shelter or refuge in a shelter, it is a different situation. Now, as regards to shelters and the level of them, a lot of this information is taken into account when we select Class A shelters, is what we call them, that we use to advise members of the public to seek shelter or refuge. We also consider the distance from the shoreline as well. So there's a lot of careful consideration into what facilities we recommend. Now, I would say that a lot of these facilities are older facilities, and they came online long before my time, and we are trying to slowly phase them out and use newer, bigger, better, higher buildings. Unfortunately, in Cayman, we are limited in respect that we only have limited amount of buildings, and bearing in mind as well, we do not have any purpose-built shelters. All of them are multi-purpose buildings, so they're at schools, churches, and the like. So, respectfully, I would say that we, as the government, managing and coordinating the NAOC with other experts in various fields, do carefully consider the disaster or the potential of any disaster that is hurling toward us or coming toward us in any shape or fashion, and consider what best course of action to take for the public. So in this instance, as I said before, I would respectfully disagree.
Okay, and thanks for that, and I think that's absolutely right, Lennox. I will add we are working with the Public Works Department to determine the floor slab height for all the shelters, and we're also working with the National Hurricane Center in Miami and a number of other agencies to try to do a better job of forecasting storm surge, and obviously with our partner National Weather Service, and it's not here yet. Like we work on things through phases, like we're doing with the National Emergency Notification System, but at some point we're going to be able to have a much better assessment of the likely storm surge height prior to the approach of a hurricane, so advanced warning. And so it's possible we'd actually take certain shelters off the list in response to an anticipated impact, because I do hear what the caller was saying, and I think we're looking at a situation, say for instance, in like the Rock Hall area, there's some houses there which are possibly vulnerable to wind as well and things like that. So the Georgetown Primary School, well, it's actually now got a little bit of second floor space as well, but in the past it's a single-story dwelling in a fairly low-lying area, but for that community there, some of them who maybe don't have transportation, it's probably a much better option for them than having nowhere else to shelter. So we do accept that the low-lying nature of Cayman generally, at 7 feet above sea level on average, does create some vulnerabilities, and we are looking at that issue of the height above sea level. We're also looking at trying to provide improved, like I said, storm surge and even the wave impacts, because you can get wave trapping occurring, which can add to the height of the storm surge. So anyway, but I do think, just getting back to, the work that was done for Ida, Lennox helped organize a number of shelters, and we had people come along, and, I think it does show. A lot of times people say, you err on the side of caution. Maybe, you're closing down the economy again, telling parents that the kids can't go to school. But, these things can, if you imagine how much, if we had a lot more traffic on the road through Ida, it could have been a lot worse. And people took advantage of the shelters, didn't they? We had some people come along, I think. Yeah.
There was one point that I failed to mention with regard to floor heights of the shelters. We do have that information. Again, a lot of work, expertise from the Public Works Department, who assists us along with other entities like DCFS and the HSA and so on as we prepare throughout the year. So for this particular event, for Tropical Storm Ada, or Hurricane Ada, as it were, the impact, or what we anticipated the impact would be majorly related to flooding. So again, if you look at the shelters that were open to the public, we excluded Georgetown Primary, because although it's a shelter, Georgetown Primary, as a result of Hurricane Ivan, we understand, experienced a bit of flooding. So keeping that in mind, we opened the shelters that were more highly elevated with that in mind. Now, obviously, as a Class A shelter, as I mentioned before, the requirements to meet that standard is that any one of the shelters can withstand winds or hurricane force winds up to a category 3. So again, there's a lot of work put into place before a decision is made to select a site or a building as a shelter. We're not just selecting on a whim, oh, this is a nice big building, some people would like to think. There's a number of other big buildings. So, for example, the school, I think it's the Baptist across from Lion Center. So they have a nice, really big hall there. It wasn't considered for one reason or another. So I'm not saying anything negative about that site. I'm just saying that there's a number of other large buildings here in Grand Cayman and in the Sister Islands as well that was not selected for one reason or another.
And we only have shelter capacity for about 8% of the population as well. So with so many people living on the coast or near the sea as well, it's not ideal always, the shelter option, but and we do encourage people also to look at other options if they have friends who have resilient, robust houses in elevated areas or 2-story houses or whatever, to go to those as well. But with such a shortage really of space, we have to give people an option at this point. And I do want to thank all our volunteers as well, because those shelters are manned largely by volunteers pretty much. We have police now who are there, and also mental health professionals and people from Department of Environmental Health, but largely it's people from ADRA, Red Cross, and just everyday volunteers who just step up to the plate and give back to their community, and we're really grateful for their contribution as well.
Absolutely. We only have a minute left. We haven't really touched on IOTA so much, but what do we need to know? What is the key points right here with IOTA coming that we need to know, that we should be aware of?
Well, IOTA is at about 14.2 north, 74.3 west. And if those kind of coordinates kind of sounds familiar, go back about a half a month or so in Ada.
That's a week ago.
It seems like a month.
That's a week ago.
And the storm is moving to the west and is going to intensify. By the time you get to about Saturday evening, that system is going to be well to the south of us. It's going to be at about 14.5 north, so that's something 200-300 miles to the south of us. All right, and it is expected to be a hurricane by that time, and the track on it does not bring it necessarily into the Cayman area.
What about a boomerang? Because Ada did that, was a boomerang formation.
Well, this storm, the long-term models don't take this storm and do kind of the boomerang back over to the Cayman Islands. This one, they take it and skirt it along the north coast and then turn it in and send it across La Ceiba or something like that area in there, and just weaken the system until it dissipates. And one of the things that I kind of get caught up in at times, and you're in this time of the year, so we're looking for our winter breezes and stuff like that. And when we looked at the models with Ada, some of the models were given, hey, you're going to get this big high pressure system, it's going to come down and give you a big thing of strong push of northeasterly winds. It's doing the same thing again. And I'm sitting down on a limb and just waiting until things happen, so to speak. But for right now, this storm looks like it is going to pass well to the south of us. It does not have the very extensive area of cloudiness and showers that Ada had. It is a much more compact type system, still passing to the south of us. But be aware that if there's something that's going to happen with it, it is going to happen fairly quickly. You could be looking at, and when we say quickly, if tropical storm force winds from this was ever to affect us, it would more likely be on Saturday, late Saturday at some time. So we're talking less than 24 hours. But as I said, this system is forecast to pass well to the south of us.
All right, excellent. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on Talk Today this afternoon, and for bringing the information, clearing up some misconceptions, and I hope that we don't have to speak anytime on Saturday or Sunday regarding IOTA at all. I hope it just dissipates.
And pray for all those people in Central America, Bay Islands, Honduras.
They look like they're going to get another shot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And try to be part of those Honduras relief efforts and whatever other efforts are being formed right now.
Thanks,
we have to go to a commercial break again, and we'll be back after that with the Cayman Islands Crisis Center.
"24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Chief Medical Officer Dr. John Lee reports that 202 COVID-19 tests have been carried out since the Wednesday report. One person, a traveler in isolation, tested positive. There are 16 active cases of COVID-19, 15 are asymptomatic, and 1 person with symptoms. In international news, new cases in England have stabilized to around 50,000 a day. It follows a jump in the UK's official daily recorded case rate to a record 33,470 on Thursday. The UK R rate falls to between 1 and 1.2, meaning the epidemic is slowing but still growing. South America's Pantanal region has been hit by the worst wildfires in decades. The blazes have already consumed about 28% of the vast floodplain that stretches across parts of Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay. They are still not completely under control. The fires have destroyed unique habitats and wrecked the livelihoods of many of the Pantanal's diverse indigenous communities. A supermarket chain in China has apologized for apparently featuring a chart in one of its stores that used disparaging language to refer to women who wear larger-sized clothes. The suggested women's sizing chart laid out the different heights and weights associated with clothing sizes. Small sizes were labeled skinny and medium sizes were beautiful, while large sizes were called rotten or terrible, and XXL sizes were extremely terrible. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We just had Hazard Management and the Cayman Islands National Weather Service on, and right now we're going to be speaking with, from the Crisis Center, Anya Milanowska. I hope I got that. Yes. And Marisha Spencer. And we're here to speak about the Get Up, Stand Up reggae style gala and the Jingle Bell Walk Run, which is a signature event for the Cayman Islands Crisis Center. Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for having us.
No problem. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are you, Anya?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. How are you,
It's
Cassie?
Friday.
I'm a bit overwhelmed this week. I'm looking very much forward to the weekend, and I just hope that we have our sunny weather maybe for one weekend in the past 2 months would be great.
That would be very nice.
I'd be very thankful
Definitely.
for that. So Mr. Tibbetts left us with a note saying we might expect a little bit of rain, but hopefully not. Hopefully it'll still stay okay, and hopefully IOTA doesn't affect us at all. But it will definitely hit its forecast for Honduras at least right now. So
wow.
We're sending our prayers and our efforts to help them after this passes. But we're here to talk about some great events that the Crisis Center is putting on.
Yes.
Let us know what's going on with the Crisis Center.
So we are, this year has been very challenging, and not only for us, but for all the charities in the Cayman Islands. And fundraising has been very, very challenging, especially. So we are trying, since some of the restrictions were lifted, we are trying to now, end this year with a big impact, and we are organizing 2 events, not 1 but 2. So one will be actually next week, and that's our Get Up Stand Up Gala that you mentioned, and it's a reggae style gala to stand up against domestic violence. And then we also have a Jingle Bell Walk Run in December.
I like how you put that together, Get Up, Stand Up, and Stand Up Against Domestic Violence. So I like the marriage of that right there.
That was the idea.
Yes.
Oh yeah, wonderful fundraising committee members have awesome ideas. So
the Get Up Stand Up Reggae Style Gala at Pappagallos.
Yes.
The date?
That's going to be at Pappagallos on the 19th of November, which is next week, Thursday. And tickets are $100. And we're going to have a kind of cocktails welcome at 7 p.m. and dinner is at 8. And if you would like to buy tickets, and we encourage you to do that, because we are hoping to have a lot of fun and just get together and, kind of celebrating this amazing 2020
we need
in reggae style.
We need a reason to celebrate. So for me,
right?
any reason that comes up, any celebration, I'm there.
Yes. So if you would like to buy tickets, then please contact Kelly. Kelly is our very, very long-term and very dedicated fundraising committee member. She's a volunteer of the Crisis Center. And her number is 525-9137. That's 525-9137. And you can buy tickets from Kelly, or you can email fundraising@cicc.ky.
Okay.
And we encourage everyone to wear the reggae colors. If anything like this exists.
Yes.
Marisha, you can.
Actually red, green, and yellow.
There you go.
It's an uptown session. It's a gala still. So.
Yes. Yeah, but it's with a fun twist, I hope.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
How are you doing with your ticket sales right now? Have you been able to?
So we've sold some, but we obviously would like to reach the maximum, and we have if anyone would like to buy individual tickets, they are welcome to do that. They can also buy a whole table. So and tickets are $100.
Right, excellent. That's excellent food at Pappagallos, and
yes,
it involves
definitely
your entertainment, your dinner. Drinks or
yes,
okay.
And we're gonna have silent auction. Silent auction, live auction. We're gonna have raffles.
What can we expect from the live auction?
Well, hopefully, a lot of fun and a lot of good bidding. That's what we're hoping for.
Do you know what some of the prizes are? Can entice the people.
We have some amazing prizes. We have, for example, staycation at Villas de Galeon. So there are some very good prizes. Excellent. For the gala, and also there will be music and dancing, of course, and the delicious food, as you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the Get Up Stand Up Reggae Style Gala, Thursday, November 19th at Pappagallos, $100 for tickets. And if you can also, that's individual tickets, you can also buy a table. And to contact Kelly at 925-9137. And the email that you gave us.
525, sorry.
525.
Yes.
9137. I wrote down 525.
There you go. Oh, it's Friday. Don't worry.
The email, if people wanted to send you an email about tickets, can you repeat the email address?
Yes, that's fundraising@cicc.ky.
Okay, excellent.
And I just want to mention that this email also serves many other purposes, not just, for buying tickets, but obviously if anyone out there don't want to come to the gala, but they still would like to support us financially, that's the email to use.
Okay. Events like this, and as you said, it's been really hard for most charities and nonprofit organizations to fundraise in 2020 due to COVID. How much of your operations depends on fundraisers like this in order to continue providing the services that you do provide?
So, we are very grateful, first of all, to our government because they cover just under half of our budget. But then more than half, so around 60%, 55-60% comes from events like this, from donations, from sponsors, from fundraisers. And yes, this year has been very challenging, and we are trying the best we can to cover all our operational costs. And like you said, other charities, I know they are struggling as well. It's challenging for them too, so we kind of, I guess it's like a friendly competition among us. I support all the other causes, obviously, but being the director of the Crisis Center, this is my charity, so
yes.
Yes.
With the services that you provide to the Crisis Center, can anybody go there? Is it
Marisha?
Sure. All right, so before we get into the services, just to make a call to the public, reasons why you should support our fundraising event. As Anya just mentioned, that our operation is dependent on monies from fundraising and also from donation. And the services we offer basically is really towards the prevention and intervention of domestic violence and abuse, right? Now, we were initially a safe sheltering, but of course, over the years, we added additional services to our platform. So now we offer, primarily our mandate is really to provide safe emergency sheltering for women and children who are victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. However, we provide overall services to all persons affected by domestic violence.
Including men?
Yes, including men, because men do experience domestic violence.
They do,
well.
yes. As they might be shamed to admit it, unfortunately, due to gender biases, but it does happen.
Yes, it does.
Okay, excellent. I seem to remember there was a walk-in center before. Is that still?
Yes, we still have our walk-in center, and that's basically the face of the Crisis Center because, of course, our shelter location is confidential.
Right.
So persons who want to access service but does not necessarily require safe sheltering, they would come to our Estella's Place walk-in center. So it is both a walk-in and a call-in center because persons can also call in to access services as well.
What is the number that they call, and where is the walk-in center located?
All right, so our walk-in center is located at Crown Square, Eastern Avenue, and the number they can call to make an appointment, because we go by appointment, is 949-0366, and ask to speak to Caroline. She is the coordinator of the Crisis Center. But once anyone is at Estella's Place, we're more than willing to assist.
Okay, I have a question before we go to the commercial break.
Sure.
And my question is, with COVID, we're in lockdown. Well, when we were in lockdown and we were quarantined at home, that caused a lot of strain on relationships, or it made some relationships and marriages stronger. I know of some cases where it did not. It pushed people apart. Mm-hmm. For your experience and being with a crisis center, did you experience rates going up with domestic violence? Was it increased calls coming to the crisis center? What could you do at that time to help out? Because people are locked in a home 24/7 together, and it can cause a lot of friction at times.
To be honest with you, while there was not generally in the Cayman Islands an increase in cases, we were getting the calls. The calls were coming in, and they were coming in more so because persons weren't able to leave their homes. So the next best thing was to call in. And how we supported really was through supportive listening. That was one. But most importantly, we did a lot of safety planning. So we helped persons to remain safe while they were in an isolated situation.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes.
And that kind of call and the helping guide them and be that ear and offer the safety plan per se, that's something that helped a lot of the people that were calling in.
Yes, it did.
Okay, excellent. We're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking still with the Crisis Center, and we're going to be hearing about their signature event, the Jingle Bell Walk and Run.
Introducing the new Digicel Prime bundles, better than anything we've offered before, with more data than ever, more music on the music, more live sports on Sportsmax, more movies on Playgo, more video chats on BIP. With the new Digicel Prime bundles, it's never been easier to get more digital experiences, plus extra data. Get 50 gigabytes with a 7-day bundle. So much data, so much fun. Buy in My Digicel app today, the Caribbean's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
Stronger, wider, higher, lighter. The all-new Ford Ranger Raptor.
Powerfully built with a 2.0 diesel Panther engine and 210 horsepower. Modern with leather interior and 8-inch touchscreen, Sync 3 technology and power features. Tough, built to handle the off-road with 4-wheel drive, terrain modes, and 10-speed automatic transmission. Coming early October to Vamped Motors, Walkers Road. To find out more and to test drive the bold new Ford Ranger Raptor, visit Vamped Motors, Walkers Road, or call 949-8288.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Did you know that between May and August 31st, in support of the COVID-19 Emergency Withdrawal Program, the Chamber Pension Plan leveraged IT and human resources to successfully review over 16,000 member applications, approve over 12,000 applications, and paid over CI $130 million to our plan members. We are the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, and we're here for you. For further information regarding the Emergency Withdrawal Program, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we are here with the Crisis Center. We have Anya Milanoska and Marisha Spencer.
Yes, that's correct.
And we were talking about their Get Up, Stand Up Reggae Style Gala, which takes place Thursday, November 19th at Papagallo's. You can buy tickets for $100 or you can buy tables. And for tickets, call Kelly at 525-9137. And now we're going to talk about one of their most well-known events, I think is pretty familiar with residents on island, is the Jingle Bell Walk Run. What's going on with this one, ladies, and when is this event?
So this is kind of, very nice flow here, because if you come to our gala and you have the delicious food at Papagallo, then you can come to our Jingle Bell Walk Run and walk or run off those extra pounds. So that event, as you mentioned, is our signature event, and it's one of our biggest fundraisers, next to Walk in Her Shoes that we have in March.
Yes. Brilliant event.
This one, yes, it is. So Jingle Bell is going to be on Sunday, 13th of December. It starts at 7 a.m., but there is possibility of registration on the day. So if you do not register before, but you still want to participate, then registrations will be open from 6 a.m.
How much does it cost to register? And is
$25, and on the day $30.
On the day $30.
Yes.
Okay, and if
there is a little punishment if you don't register before, then it's $5 more.
I agree. But don't stress out the event organizers on the day of the actual event. This is how I feel, so I understand that. But is there different categories you can enter or different age groups?
Not really. Anyone can. Our event is very well known for being a family-oriented event. So we have children and adults and dogs and strollers and everything. And because it's in Safe Haven area, then it's very, very safe, and we are not afraid. If people come with strollers and children and dogs, that's very safe for them. And if anyone would like to pre-register, the registration is now open, and you can do that by going to Eventpro website, and you can register over there. And the registration will be open until Saturday, December 12th, until 9 p.m. So eventpro.ky, that's where you would like to go to register. And we are asking participants, because we're trying to be green, and we're asking participants to bring their own bottles. We're not going to be handing the small plastic bottles, but we will have water so that the participants can then fill their water bottles.
Okay.
And also, our event is very famous for the T-shirts, which we always run out of. But this year, we unfortunately are not going to provide the T-shirts. So the little twist here is that we're asking participants to either wear their last year T-shirts or please dress up in a very, festive way, and then we're gonna be choosing the best dressed person, and that person will receive a fabulous prize.
Oh, excellent! Bring your Santa hat and
yes,
your Santa, maybe not your Santa Claus whole outfit.
No, please don't do that because you don't want to outstage our Santa. We have Santa. We have our very friendly Santa who is with us from day one, and Jingle Bell Walk Run is actually run every year since 2003. Since we opened, and our Santa is there every single year. So he will be there again this year, and we are doing it at Holiday Inn. The breakfast will be served at Holiday Inn. And I want to give a very quick shout out to Holiday Inn, actually, and especially to Greg and to Darren, because they were amazing in accommodating us and helping us through this whole process. And I can assure you that the breakfast will be as delicious as ever.
I don't remember you mentioning the breakfast earlier, so that's
a breakfast.
That's nice.
Yes, that's a breakfast and raffle prizes, and Santa will be there, and Book Nook every year again. Miss Barbara, they are donating toys and prizes for us, so then gifts for our kids who walk and run, and Santa is always giving out the presents. So he's the most popular person at that event.
It's a 5K course?
5 or 10, yeah.
Oh, 5 or 10. Okay, yeah. Excellent. And just $25 or $30 on the day of, if you're going to register on the day of. And you can register on eventpro.ky prior to or in-person day of.
Yes. We are also hoping to have registration tables at, the main supermarkets or Cost You Less or Price Right. But we will have that when it's finalized. We will have that announced on our social media, so you can please look out for that. And then,
what are the social media pages where people
so we
can
have
find
Facebook,
okay.
CICC or Cayman Islands Crisis Center, and Twitter and Instagram, and our website, of course. Yes, CICC.ky.
Okay. Do you know your handles for Twitter and Instagram,
Marisha?
It's at CICC.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, for both. Okay, perfect. Yes. Easy peasy.
Marisha is our outreach coordinator, so she has all the info.
Hey, no problem. Sometimes it could be different for each social media if you can't get the exact name, right? It could have been taken by a similar company, similar name. So that's why it's important to ask, to know where people can find that, because there's a certain age and audience for different social media platforms. So you want to be able to hit all these different people.
Yeah.
Domestic violence doesn't happen to just mothers or grandmothers. It happens to people of all ages, and
that's very
true. It doesn't discriminate.
It does absolutely not, and both genders as well.
Yes.
I'm going with the he, she, there, male, female gender, not the other stuff. So, Get Up, Stand Up. That's the Reggae Style Gala, Thursday, November 14th, and then the Jingle Bell Walk Run, Sunday, December 13th. That's at 7 a.m., the Jingle Bell Walk Run. That's as to be expected. We have a little bit of entertainment. We got Santa there with the entertainment, and a breakfast at the end as well, as you were saying, and a reminder for people to bring their water bottles. We're trying to have a green initiative and not have plastic or thrown away or left on the course. 5 or 10K course you can choose to enter, and it's a great family fun day. And wear your festive holiday outfits if you can, because there's prizes given for that as well.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Is there a certain figure that you're trying to beat, or a goal that you're trying to reach in the fundraisers?
In the fundraising.
Yes.
Usually our Jingle Bell Walk Run brings us around $50,000, and it's one of our biggest fundraising events. And it fluctuates. It depends on the year and depends on sponsors and of course how many people register. But I'm not gonna hide here that the more the better, of course, especially in this situation. So if we can beat the 50,000, oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
Awesome. Especially in the year 2020, if we're able to do that just shows an incredible support from the community, and the fact that the people are looking to go out to do these events, support each other, connect with each other all over again.
But I have to say that Cayman community and working with the Chris Center over the years, it's been proven, over and over again that our community is very supportive, and they like to participate in events, and they not just supporting us but other charities as well, and that's something to be commended for.
That's
definitely.
true, absolutely. And the volunteers, there's volunteers that are in so many different nonprofit organizations also helping make things happen, so it's a
and
kudos
this
to them.
event, actually both of them, they would not be happening if it wasn't for our fundraising committee, and that committee is just volunteers. It's a 12 wonderful ladies who give their own time. They have families, they have their work, but they still have time to put this together. And Kelly, that we've mentioned a few times, she's one of them. And they are very, very giving, very committed, and they definitely, I definitely need to say a huge thank you for their efforts.
All right. On a more serious note here, we are entering the holiday season, and it is again a time where you'll see the rates of domestic violence increase. If you're somebody in the situation, in a relationship or a marriage where you are a victim of domestic violence, or even a friend that knows of somebody that needs the help, what would your words be to them as we're approaching the holiday season? What are signs that we need to look out for?
All right, so the first thing we want to let them know is that help is available. You can call us. We have our 24-hour crisis line. The number is 943-2422. There's always someone there ready and willing to take the call. So help is available. That's the very first thing. And secondly, we want to encourage persons. It is very sad that we have to tell people to try and remain safe in their homes, but it is the reality of what is happening. So we want to encourage them to remain safe. And some tips on maintaining safety is try as best as possible to limit confrontation. That goes a far way. And also to keep important documents. So in the event you need to leave immediately, you have your important documents so you can always grab and go. And also let someone around you know what's happening. Come up with a code word. So if it's that, your partner is being abusive, but you can't really come out and say to Anya, hey, my partner is abusing me. The fact that you would have come up with a code word before, you can just say apples. And once you say apples, then she knows that, hey, I need to call the police. And then help will be sent to you. So we just want to implore persons just to try and remain as safe as possible, and help is available.
Excellent. That was a great tip there with the code word for a family or a friend that might not know what to do, or you know that person's in a situation and you want to be able to help how you can without interfering too much, right? Excellent. Ladies, thank you for joining us today on Talk Today. Marisha, you have one more thing you want to share with our listeners?
Yes, certainly. So before we go, just want to remind persons of the upcoming Silent Witness March. It will be happening on the 24th of November. That's on a Tuesday, starting at 3:30 p.m. Now, the theme for this year is Safe Home, Safe Community, and we're appealing to the community just to come out and just to support us, just to show support also, and to remember those persons who are affected by domestic violence and also bullying within the Cayman Islands. So that is the 24th of November at 3:30 p.m. and we meet at the Government Admin Building and take it from there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Before we end, I just would like to quickly encourage our listeners. As Kathy mentioned before, the charities cannot function without volunteers. So if you would like to be involved with us in any way, we have many different jobs that you could do and many different things you can help us with. Please email volunteer@cicc.ky, and our wonderful coordinator, Carol Ann, will get back to you and will take you through the enrollment process.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we had a full day today. It's a great way to end the Friday on Talk Today here. We had the Lions Club of Grand Cayman, Yvette McField, and Tamara Worms-Riley from HSA to discuss World Diabetes Day. A reminder that they are having an event tomorrow at Lions Center. It's the Lions Fair. you can get your glucose meters. I'm glad I remembered that word. To take home with you, where you can test your sugar levels. There'll be educational and nutritional seminars going on, presentations for 18 nurses that work specifically with diabetic patients. They're going to be honoring these nurses. And then from 1 to 2, we had Hazard Management and the Cayman Islands National Weather Service talking to us about what Tropical Storm Ida did in the Cayman Islands and what we can expect from Iota. And as Mr. John Tibbetts had mentioned, if we are going to feel anything from Iota, it should be late Saturday, which is tomorrow. So be vigilant, be aware, and stay safe. Just take all the precautions you normally would. And wrapping up today's session from the Crisis Center, Anya Milanoska and Marisha Spencer on the Get Up, Stand Up Reggae Style Gala, which is Thursday, November 19th, as well as the Jingle Bell Walk Run, which is Sunday, December 13th. And as Marisha just also let us know about the Silent Witness March on Saturday, November 24th.
24th, so that's a Tuesday.
Oh.
24th.
Well, it was a Saturday in my head. Tuesday, November 24th.
Yes, at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you for correcting me. And thank you to all our listeners and all our callers for tuning in and joining us this afternoon on Talk Today.